future. There are no people in the future. No people at all. There are no people in the future. Where did all my people go? There are no people in the future. Let me try my people call. Where are all my people? Where are all my people? I guess I'll fly away.
Hey everybody, welcome to Raging Chickens Out to Coop Live. Yes, it is our call-in show for Monday, June 7th, 2021. Here on Out to Coop Live, we talk to progressives, activists, and troublemakers of all sorts, right from our own backyards from across the country. On Fridays, Sean Kitchen and I break down the good, the bad, and the ugly in state and national politics. And we've got a brand new show. Yes, it is a brand new addition to the Raging Chicken family of podcasts. And it's on Wednesday, and it's called The Wednesday Show. Yes, it's The Wednesday Show with Cyril Michaleko. Cyril is a progressive columnist from the Bucks County Courier-Times and the Intelligencer. In that show, we drill down into Bucks County and PA politics, and we get into some of the international book chat, a whole bunch of other stuff too as well. You can get all our shows by subscribing to our podcast on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcast. And make sure when you head over there to Apple Podcasts or iTunes, wherever it is, make sure you leave us that 5-star rating and kind of give us that big thumbs up so other people can find the show. And you can help support this show by becoming a patron for as little as $5 a month. Just go to patreon.com/rcpress. And you can also help out the show right now by heading on over to our YouTube channel if you're not there at all, and smash that subscribe button, like the stream for this show, and hit that notification bell so you know every time that we go live. We are also broadcasting live, on Riverside FM. Join us on Riverside.fm, and you can call in during the show, during the second half of the show. There's information about that right in our kind of show notes over on our YouTube channel right now. For more PA progressive talk, tune in to the Rick Smith Show's live stream at 9 p.m. Eastern on his YouTube channel, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you get your streams. Rick's there. And you can also subscribe to his daily podcasts. Just get all the information. Just go to thericksmithshow.com for all the latest across all his platforms. And look, you've heard me talk about it for kind of like weeks now, but if you are not already on this train, you better get on it and get on over and make sure that you're listening to the Sisters of the Night Caucus podcast. The amazing PA women stirring the political cauldron behind this podcast rock the house, and they know where the bodies are buried. Spooky, right? Yep, well, make sure to follow them on Twitter at the Night Caucus and subscribe to their podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. You might be hearing, it's my daughter in the background who's always here, kind of a listener to the show. She's also my commentator and censor, so to keep me on the straight and narrow. And attention gamers also, got to give the shout out to the Game Inn. That's a Game Inn with 2 N's. It's a Quakertown-based, black family-owned gaming store. They're friends of the show. They got everything for your retro N64s, latest consoles, everything you want. Action figures, Funko Pops, old games, new games, you got it. Check them out on the Facebook page. Check them out on Twitter at the Game Inn with 2 N's. And look at this, your kid gets an A, they get a discount. How about that? Check out all their stuff at thegamein.com. And I'll tell you right now, given the right-wing breeding ground that a lot of gaming environments are, you want to make sure that your gaming dollars are going right to the people who are on our side of the ticket. So here we go. Special shout out once again goes to Jonathan Mann, who wrote our intro song, There Are No People in the Future. Check out all his great stuff on his YouTube page and follow him on Twitter at Songadayman. That's with 2 N's. It's Songadayman on Twitter. Well, on today's show, I am thrilled to welcome Colleen Gray Nguyen to the show. Colleen is a candidate for PA State House in Cumberland County. Currently, that's the 87th district, but we're in this kind of redistricting, kind of upside down world right now, so we don't know if that's where it's going to end up, but that's where she is right now. Colleen has been living with type 1 diabetes since the age of 3. She co-founded the Keystone Diabetic Kids Camp, where she continues to serve on the planning committee and volunteers as a camp counselor. She is a member of the board of directors for the Nicholas Wolff Foundation, which hosts summer camps for children with disabilities. She is the co-founder of Harrisburg Beer Week, which I just found out this week, and I was freaking thrilled, right? She is a state leader for the hashtag Insulin for All movement and has worked in both volunteer volunteer and professional capacities for PA Stands Up, the Cumberland County Democratic Committee, the East Pennsboro Democratic Club, and campaigns for Nicole Miller, Tara Shakespeare, and Shanna Danielson. Colleen is a graduate of the Emerge PA training program, and she was awarded the JFK Award for Visionary Leadership and Innovation by the Cumberland County Democratic Party. She lives in Enola, Cumberland County, Pennsylvania, with her husband and 3 children. Colleen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here. I am a longtime listener, first-time caller, so I'm very excited.
There you go. Friend
Big
of the
fan.
show. I don't have the sound drop yet, so I got to put that one in. So,
there you go.
Fantastic. Well, I'm thrilled. Like, number one, I'm thrilled that you're running. I mean,
Thank you.
As soon as, you made it known that you were running, I said, okay, we're going to have to get her on the show for that. So, but before I get it kind of way ahead of our audience here, so just why don't you kind of take us through a little bit about, why is it that you decided to run, especially now kind of in this environment, and what do you see as yourself as kind of, say, bringing to the table?
Sure. I mean, there's so many things that have brought me to this, but the biggest thing is that I was diagnosed when I was 3 years old, and my involvement in diabetes camp, having so many friends and loved ones with type 1 diabetes. And insulin is just simply unaffordable. Yeah. And the lengths and hoops we have to jump through just to survive are unacceptable. There's a lot of talk about freedom from members of our legislature, and the people in my community, people living with type 1 diabetes, are not free because we are forced to do specific things for our very survival. So that's like the biggest thing. But I've had some very unacceptable encounters with my own state legislator. And I have a lot of amazing, strong women in my life who have run for office, and they are very inspiring to me. So I decided to do the Emerge program, and that really convinced me that I could do this, and I'm going to do it. So here I am.
Yeah, and I think, like, you talk about the battles that have been going on over healthcare now for so long. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna butcher the saying. You'll know what I'm talking about. But you say something like, it's the people. How do you say, the people that should be the ones in power? I'm forgetting the slogan.
It's a Ayanna Pressley quote. The people the people closest to the pain should be closest to the power.
Yes, and I think and I think about the fact that not only, like you said, you been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, but someone who's been kind of working in that and dedicated a good chunk of your life, and kind of making sure that it wasn't just you, say, getting out, but you're making sure that you kind of understand what this is about, right? And then you
Absolutely.
find ways of kind of giving back. And it seems that in these ongoing strikes around struggles around healthcare, this seems like critical to have people that are in the State House that are prepared to take this on, who know what they're talking about, not just an abstract as an abstract policy wonk, but someone who knows the direct impact that it has on everyday people.
Absolutely. And it's not just about rationing insulin for me. It's about, like I said, like the lack of freedom, right? The number of times I've had to meet people on the side of the road or in a parking lot to give them backup insulin is honestly shameful. At least twice I've met women in parking lots who are trying to get out of abusive relationships, because if they leave behind their healthcare and their medication, and
I mean, it's unbelievable.
They can't get out otherwise. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And we've seen, you obviously know this better than I do, but I mean, my understanding is also the price of insulin, right, has been kind of like skyrocketing over the years too, as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, so it's not as if it's just okay, it's the most destitute of all destitute people that can't get their hands on. I mean, even then, I mean, I don't care. They should get it too as well. Absolutely. But I mean, it's like it's just an increasing number of people that are being kind of like denied access to some, life-saving and, relatively inexpensive drug, right? That has been around, treatment, I should say, that's been around for a long, long time, right?
Yes, it costs about I think they say $3 to $6 to make per vial, and it costs $275 in America. In America only.
That is insane.
Mm-hmm.
That is insane.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I mean, and that's just the insulin, right? Like, that's not even talking about like the tools we need to deliver the insulin, the tools we need to measure our blood sugar and decide how much insulin we need. the doctors that we have to see to get the insulin, like it's the insulin is the bare minimum requirement that we still can't even afford.
Well, it seems that, I mean, I don't know if we seem to be in this kind of weird political moment right now too, as well. Like one, obviously, things got nothing but worse under the Donald Trump administration. We even have seen kind of a ramping up within Pennsylvania of that kind of Trumpist contingency. But people did organize, right? People did organize and get rid of them. And now we've got, at the federal level, at least, we've got some proposals in the Biden administration that seem to be kind of inching in that direction. I mean, if it was, up to me, I'd be like Medicare for all. That's, that's it. We're done. But, we could say moving at least in those directions. So there's some degree of hope. And yet, meanwhile, in Pennsylvania, we've got this, this kind of really strong right contingency or contingent of kind of Republicans that are seeking just to block any help for people who need it. On the one side, but on the other side, like in Cumberland County where you're at, we also have seen like a whole new generation of political candidates and social movements that are really changing the game in my mind.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm here. I think, I got involved in the Cumberland County Democratic Party right after Trump was elected. It was clear that they needed more help, right? Because all of a sudden, everybody wants a piece of this. Everybody wants to be involved. So, and I was one of them, and I got in and there and tried to help organize as much as I could. And then I also got involved in, what was Capital Region Indivisible and became Capital Region Stands Up, and moved from there. And yeah, last cycle, a year ago now, but it'll be 2 years by the time I'm on the ticket. But we had 3 amazing progressive women running in Eastern Cumberland County, both in my current district and in the one right next to me where I grew up, actually. And it was awesome. Did better than anyone could have ever expected. So, yeah. Yeah.
And as and I was so glad after that. We've had like Shanna Danielson and Shakespeare were on the show kind of back in the fall. And one of the things we talked about is, basically what their campaigns help show, right, is that there is an appetite for a grassroots movement. And, the fact is, you don't have to go here with me, but a lot of in the Pennsylvania Democratic Party have really kind of just left behind whole swaths of the state. And you would hear this all the time, but there's no way we're going to win. There's no way we're going to win. And what Shanna and what Tara and Nicole Miller, who was running kind of your area back then, they showed, right? No, that's wrong. What it needs is an investment in kind of people. And so, and I remember there was this time where people were like, well, see this, these progressives didn't do so well. And Nikhil Saval kind of jumped in there and said, no, look at the numbers in Cumberland County. Is like because of their campaigns, right, that allowed, look at the number of votes for Joe Biden, right, over Donald Trump and that has everything to do with those campaigns, right? Now it's about building capacity. So, and there you sit kind of like in that environment. And so what is it, what's your read of say people on the ground at this point? Do you see them, they have an appetite for the kind of thing that you're bringing to the table?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm also full disclosure, I'm also the candidate recruitment chair for the Cumberland County Dems. So I get firsthand, I'm in it with the candidates that are currently running even. And we have a record number of candidates running across Cumberland County, everywhere from Camp Hill, which is a very blue area, to Big Spring, which is a very red area, Shippensburg, South Middleton, rural parts of Cumberland County people are looking to run and looking to take charge and bring progressive ideas to Cumberland County. And we're moving. We're the fastest growing county in the state. And, that's because young people are moving here. And we're only going to get more progressive, and it's very exciting, and we need to be ready for that. So one of the things that I think Shanna really brought, and she's my best friend now, so also full disclosure there, that was structure and an example of how to run a really good campaign here and actually make them pay attention to us. From the state party and from the GOP as well.
Yeah, and they've had to. And I think that, it's always a matter, in some ways that, what we saw, say, for example, they always look for these kind of analogs, that it's not exactly an analog, but it always stands out to me what we saw, like with the West Virginia teacher strike, for example, is that in that case, the leadership of the union was very like, no, we can't do this. There's no way we're going to do this. We got to be very moderate. And these teachers were like, look, our kids are suffering. Right. And so we're going to go, we're going to stand up for our kids. We're going to stand up for our communities. And eventually the union leadership saw that, oh, wait a minute, we were wrong. They were right. And we're going to follow them. We're going to get behind them. And it seems to be a little of that going on in Cumberland County, like where, you all, by doing that work on the ground and basically showing us to be done, now suddenly the party's starting to turn and say, hey, maybe we should be paying more attention here, Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, frankly, I think my thing is we're tired of leading with the compromise, right? Like, we need to come out swinging, so to say. Like we need to come out strong so that we can have any win at all, let alone big wins.
So obviously, like kind of medical care, kind of that's kind of front and center to a lot of what you're doing the campaign. So what are some of the other issues that you see as kind of like filling out your campaign?
Sure, education is very important to me. My mom is a teacher. My kids are in public school right now. And our district has the lowest paid teachers in the county, and it's bad. Like we're losing teachers at a very high rate, and it's very concerning to me personally. And I know it's worse in other parts of the state. And we have a fair funding formula that's not being used in a way that it should be. There are solutions out there, and our legislature doesn't care. Or doesn't seem to care, at least. They're too busy with conspiracy theories and whatnot. So there's that. Like there's so many things. Like I think we need to finally legalize weed. Like, we need to, and death by incarceration is a major thing. There's just a lot. We need common sense gun reform. I'm speaking at the Capitol tomorrow, so on that, because that's an issue that's near and dear to my heart as well. So there's so many things that they could do, and they're not doing any of it. Well,
and that seems to be like, I mean, so much of the case. So, you brought up, stuff around teachers and the teachers leaving and lower paid teachers. I mean, and is this the kind of issue that you think, well, let me say, like, so I'm in Percy, right? And so we're in a kind of a fairly red area, right? There's still Trump flags flying out there saying my president's still here, all that kind of stuff.
I can see one out my window right now.
Yeah, I mean, right, exactly. Yeah. It's the same kind of situation. And, but when you start talking to the parents just about what's happening in the schools, they're concerned about the schools or funding of the schools and the teachers, there's a space for talking about, just common sense stuff to making sure that our kind of education is protected, that our teachers are going to staying here, which has everything to do with, just wanting your community to thrive and your kids to thrive. So are you able to have those kind of conversations with folks in your neighborhood, your kids' schools and that kind of thing?
Yep, absolutely. I was just at a meeting with a bunch of teachers the other day, or a bunch of parents the other day they're like organizing, but like the parents in this district are organizing, and it's awesome. And it's funny because like they're across political spectrums, right? Like there are some like anti-mask, anti-vax people in this group, but and there's some very liberal, progressive people in this group, and they're all mad that our teachers are being treated so poorly. So I'm involved as much as I can with everything I'm doing, but that's incredibly important to me personally, because I mean my kids just finished kindergarten, so we're in this for a while yet.
Well, and now this is not something that people who are watching us on YouTube or listening to podcasts can see, but you've got like the PA stands up sign kind of like behind you. You've got the X's this right.
I got Obama.
Yeah, you got Obama. There you go. But the PA stands up one. I mean, just kind of what you're talking about there with people are organizing their fight. When that's been part and parcel, a lot of that model that's come out of the PA stands up too is like, look, we're going to kind of talk about like people first stuff, right? We're going to talk about what kind of working families need, and we're going to start there. We're not going to start with the big D, we're not going to start with the big R, but we're going to start with the issues that kind of like are affecting people and organizing for there. And that really seems to be, the same kind of, energy that's been forming both your campaign and the folks in Cumberland County and some other places across the state too.
Yes, absolutely. And I fully credit Jonathan Smucker for putting me into that mindset, to be honest. And because, I mean, I feel like he directed me into that. And it works. It's not just that it works, but it like makes sense and it's important and it feels right. And you know, Jess King too did a great job of doing that in her campaign for Congress. So
yeah, it seems like there's crazy things happening, which I'm very, very excited about. So we've got education, we've got kind of like healthcare stuff. So currently right now, I mean, obviously you're running because you think that the person who's currently occupying this area, the representing the area, is not quite delivering on that idea for the people.
No.
So what's the representation been like up until now?
Well, I can give you a very specific example. When it was almost 3 years ago now, when it was HB 2060 was on the floor. It was a bill to take guns away from people who have a PFA against them, a protection from abuse order. It seemed like very common sense to me. And people who have a PFA against them already had to have their guns taken. This just shortened the window. That made it slightly safer for victims, right? It made it from like a week to a day or something. It shortened it. And changed a little bit of the process to make it even safer. And he voted no, of course, because God forbid we do any kind of restriction that makes victims safe and takes guns away from people in any way. But I was with a group of friends at a event, and he was there, and we approached him and said, "Why did you vote no on this?" And he looked at me in the face, and to be honest, I am also a victim of domestic violence from a previous relationship. He looked at me in the face and said that it gives victims a false sense of security to take a gun away from an abuser because then you could use a baseball bat or a car instead.
Are you kidding me?
No. I wish I had it on video because I
Holy cow.
And then he turned around and ran.
Ran, of course he did.
Like Scott Perry ran
Scott
away.
Perry into the woods, right?
Which is funny story. I was there the other day when he did that. But anyway.
Were you really?
Yeah.
You go away, you screwy rabbit, you.
We can talk about that in a second. But
right.
First off, Rothman, my state representative, very disappointed in that response, obviously. And he just all he seems to care about is radar and electric scooters.
Radar? Yeah,
and just like a couple weeks ago, a woman was killed in my neighborhood. Like I can almost see her house from here. There was a domestic violence call. The cops showed up. 4 minutes they left. 4 minutes later they were called back, and the woman was laying in the same spot she was standing. Wow. And she had been shot by her father.
Wow.
Yeah. But my state rep thinks taking the gun would give her a false sense of security.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. Well, it's not unbelievable. I mean, that's the, even that language of me saying it's unbelievable, we can no longer use that kind of language because it's not unbelievable. It's always shocking and always believable given our current culture, which is, I think it's the one thing that I've been thrilled to see too as well is a lot, especially in Cumberland County in the area, is that you find the most powerful organizers and stuff are women. Right. Yeah. And the women Absolutely. Are really, and I think, that kind of mentality, right, of like the story you just told about Rothman. I mean, there is no other way of getting rid of that other than kind of replacing these, kind of men in the state legislature with women. Because there is, even the best, again, I mean, I'm a guy, right? But I mean, even as, I grew up for a good chunk of my life in a single parent family. I shared this with you, beforehand. So my sister was mentally handicapped, as a result of, some medical malpractice and things. And I've always had the kind of strong identification with a lot of what my mother had gone through. I mean, we were on food stamps and we had to kind of struggle through when she, totaled her car one day, she was devastated in the house because she didn't know what the hell what she was going to do. Yeah. And it was only because of, the friends in the community and people that kind of came together to help out that kind of got us through these times. And so I've always had that kind of point of identification, but still, I mean, there is, even given that, I could say, look, women need to be, be behind the wheel at this point. And, given what we've seen both at, with the Me Too, kind of movement that came up, but with a series of kind of legislation has been pushed, some of the legislation has been pushed by women legislators that have come in about getting rid of these, I'm just forgetting the not CDAs. That's not right. The makes it the what do you call it? The agreements that tell people they can't talk. Right?
Oh, NDAs.
NDAs. I don't know what I was just completely saying. You're getting rid of those things, right? Making sure. I mean, and that's really spearheaded by women, and kind of an argument for why, an explanation for why it is that women are doing the organizing, right, around the guns issues, around kind of domestic violence, but also transparency and kind of equity, and why we need more folks in the state legislature like yourself.
Absolutely. And like, shout out to Emerge, they've been doing such amazing work. And they're the reason why I'm here, really. And Mary Jo Daly and Tina Davis, who got that rolling, with the goal of getting more Democratic women in the legislature, and they're doing it, and it's awesome.
That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
it's absolutely fantastic. So what is it, just so folks have a sense of kind of what our timeline looks like here? Like, sure. What is so when we're going to see, when did we going to start seeing campaign stuff start really ramping up? When does that kind of really get kicked into full gear?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm probably looking at like the early fall for like an official launch. I kind of accidentally tweeted the other day that I was running, and so here I am.
And here you are.
I could not pass up the opportunity to link Greg Rothman to Rick Santorum. I couldn't pass it up. They're friends. They're friends. Everyone, you have to know. You have to know that they're really good friends. They're both terrible.
It's clear.
So, but. Early fall probably for like an actual launch. I'm raising money now though, so if anybody wants to chip in, ColleenForPA.com, really easy to remember. And so petitioning won't be until probably March, but who knows? They might delay that. That's it.
Well, and this is why, I knew where we're kind of a little ways out from the kind of the big launches and things like this, but one of the main reasons, I wanted to have you on as soon as possible is because, I think that from kind of in the progressive community, especially, right, we need to be looking at, getting behind candidates early. Right. Yes. And especially so we start saying where do we need to have organizers, right? Obviously money, right? There'll be a link in the show notes today to make sure, if folks want to donate to your campaign. This is how you do. Absolutely. But, even more importantly, those folks, the volunteers that are willing to come forward, that are doing some of the organizing, doing the calling, because, Cumberland County is one of these places that people need to be paying attention to. We've had some major victories in, say, Philadelphia in the Democratic primaries, which has been absolutely fantastic. And now I think, we see this burgeoning movement needs to be thinking about power in a pretty kind of like straightforward way, which, all eyes on Cumberland County and everybody on this campaign, folks.
Yes. Appreciate that very much. Yeah. And I'll be out there knocking doors this summer. I always am with our municipal candidates. This is, my shtick, but this time I'll be carrying my card as well. And hitting doors probably all over Eastern Cumberland County for our municipal candidates and school board candidates, which are also extremely important places where we need people to progressives in power, for sure.
Absolutely.
And nothing has shown that more than the past year. So
absolutely. 100%. Yeah. Absolutely. Just want to remind everybody that we're talking right now with Colleen Gray Nguyen. She is running for PA State Legislator in Cumberland County. Right now, that is the 87th district, but that may change because of redistricting. So we're going to be following her campaign, kind of directing as many eyes that we can toward her campaign. And as we have more candidates that are coming forward too as well, that are, again, fighting for working families, fighting for, like fighting for the kind of like democracy and state that we should have just as a, baseline. Really, but then so much more. And it seems to be a time to do this. And so I just want to give a shout out to those folks who are on YouTube right now, or maybe listening to us to hear that there are links in the show notes that if you want to kind of join in, you have any question, you have a comment you like for Colleen, or like to just kind of add in your kind of perspective on things, please do. And just a couple kind of quick tips if you do this, if you want to join in, what you want to do is you want to kind of silence your YouTube. Right. And then you want to call in through Riverside, because there'll be a little bit of a delay if you don't. If you ever called into a radio show before and you get this kind of echo feedback thing, same principle there. So what you do is just kind of you minimize your YouTube or whatever, and then kind of you can call in, click on that little link, and you can call in. We can take your questions, comments, or thoughts on, say, Riverside FM. And you can do that from now to the end of the show. So if you do, we'd love to hear from you, love to hear your perspective or thoughts that you might have, questions you may have for Colleen. So, Colleen, I got to ask you about this because,
Sure.
like, I got to ask you about Beer Week. I just have to do it.
Please.
And for a couple things, and like, again, I don't know how deeply you want to dive in this, but one, I just found out that that you're the co-founder of Harrisburg Beer Week, which I was like, no way. I mean, how did I not put this together before? I mean, I've talked with Sean enough about it, right? Know this, but and I bring that up in part because. One, obviously, we have Beer Rec. We talk about some craft beer stuff here on the show, but more so because, the beer industry, the craft beer industry in Pennsylvania, like on the one hand, has been a boom for like so many communities like across the state. But like we've seen also in this past month, now we've seen that, the craft beer industry has a certain degree of reckoning that it's kind of going under right now. And we're going to have Erin Wallace on the show, kind of in a couple of weeks. She owns Devil's Den down in Philadelphia, which is a gastropub. She's also a co-leader of the Pink Boots Society that's kind of looking at kind of sexism and kind of abuses in the craft beer industry. And but more broadly, supporting women brewers and women in the industry. And that's kind of like its main stuff. But so, it seems to me like, like here we are again, right? With this kind of, on the one hand, this boon to local communities and kind of, especially kind of young cultures, but also seeing it kind of woven through with kind of sexism, racism, as you'd see in these other places. And, so I'm just kind of, curious, like, here you are, like with the experience of that industry. Any kind of thoughts on that, or, even like where this kind of fits in with the message that you want to even bring to folks in your campaign?
Sure. Well, in terms of like the recent stuff that's been happening, my first thought was freaking finally.
Yeah.
Like finally. I mean, I was lucky. I worked for a brewery that I did not have any of that. It was a wonderful, amazing place to work, and I love it very much still. And I'm lucky. But as far as the industry as a whole, like as an art form,
yeah.
I've loved it for a very long time, and supporting local breweries and supporting local businesses is why the reason we started Harrisburg Beer Week. And I think that's an important thing to talk about in this post-COVID moment. But it's got to come from, we have to reckon with all of this and make it a more inclusive place for everyone, which is something we've been, one of the reasons why we did Harrisburg Beer Week, right? We were 4 women who started I mean, I don't want to like sound like I'm tooting my own horn here, but like we've been told probably the best beer week in the state. So,
like people have said,
like another beer week folded in the middle while we were doing ours still, and we kind of had a very specific vision, and we were able to see that through for the length of its existence, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, you should be. I mean, I even have, I bought my wife one of the T-shirts from one of the years, like because it was like the awesome design. It was phenomenal. So I bought it, and she like wears it all the time still. It's like
fun fact is our wonderful designer Lauren Duff, who designed all our Harrisburg Beer Week stuff, also designed my logo.
Well, there you have it. See that? Yeah. It's like, what do they call it in the corporate world? Synergy. It would be like synergy.
Well, and I met her because she worked for one of the local diabetes organizations. Well, and that all comes together.
Well, and that's really what it's about, right? I mean, and I just think that, I look at it too as well. I don't know how you've done all that you've done. I mean, I look at the stuff that you're involved with, and that's why I think that I was so like over the top. And you said, and by the way, one of the co-founders of Harrisburg Beer Week, because you've got just this wealth of accomplishments already that are all rooted in kind of building community, right, and kind of supporting people and getting behind them, which is, again, I could see is like we need better people to write bumper stickers than me, certainly. But,
well, thank you for one. Sometimes I don't have time to do it all, which is never a good thing. But I'm lucky to have a very supportive partner who's sitting across the room from me right now. So it's weird because I'm talking about him, and I don't know if he knows it. My mom is amazing, so she can help me with kids. And to be honest, like, this is gonna get a little, but like, I couldn't afford to work when I found out I have twins. When I found out I was having twins, oh, wow. I couldn't afford to put them in childcare, so I wasn't working. So to keep myself sane, I started doing other things, and now I'm here. Now I have a ridiculous list of things that I do, but I love all of it. So, and I'm here. It's brought me here.
And here you are. And so, and then the other, okay, now this gets me down to kind of, okay, I don't want to get so let's talk kids. So,
Sure.
because I mean, this past year also has been, I mean, a strain on every single family across the state.
Yes.
Given COVID and all this. And, I was fortunate enough, I teach at Kutztown University. All my classes went online. My son is fully online. My daughter was kind of hybrid until they kind of just put him back into school like a few weeks ago because of the freaking PSSAs, but whatever. That was hard.
Yeah.
Right. And my wife works in medicine, and during COVID, she was working nonstop. And the struggles that say we had as a family, right. We're fairly comfortable, right. And had resources and flexibility in our jobs. And that was extraordinarily lucky. But you look at, this kind of post-COVID time, and it seems like this is also a time for vision about what could be. And it always makes me extraordinarily nervous about these calls for, say, going back to normal or the way things were. I'm just curious your take on that, because, I like to ask people this kind of stuff because I find myself thinking a lot about that lately.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I just did a meeting with Moms Rising the other day. We met with Senator Casey to talk about this exact thing. And, we talked about COVID really opening the wound, you know what I mean, for everyone, or showing this rift that was already there. I couldn't afford childcare when my kids were born. And now everyone's seeing how hard it is when you have to be out of work and there's nothing you can do to get caught up to be able to afford childcare. It's something we have to fix if we want to, quote unquote, get back to normal. I think we need a new normal. We need to be investing in things like childcare for everyone, because otherwise there's no way we're going to ever get to an economic place that we need to be. And it's all about freedom for families and women. Again, I'm not free if I don't have the choice whether I want to work or not. So yeah, that's where I'm at. And for me personally, I was working for PA Stands Up for a while, and then Tara Shakespeare needed a field director, so I jumped in and did that. But then, after the election, I was unemployed, and trying to find a job where I could be home part of the time while my kids were doing hybrid school. I also have a stepdaughter, and she goes to school in a completely different school district, and they're on a completely different plan. Wow. A different schedule. So she ended up doing we just put her in virtual school. It was just easier for everyone, easier for her. And she's awesome at it, which is good. A lot of kids aren't, but she handled it well. And, but then I had to be here to be with her. So there were no options. There was no option that we could afford. There's no option that had the flexibility for our family. And that's the thing, not everybody has a 9 to 5-day a week, every day, even family. There has to be flexibility and there has to be affordability.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, the way that the economy has gone to as well, when you have I was shocked to find that, I knew it was a higher percentage than I had thought, but 35% of our economy now is in the gig economy. And people said, oh, great flexibility. It's no. The gig economy means you're always on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the gig economy is not it's the utopian world where everyone gets to, no. The gig economy is you're always on. And if you're going to make ends meet, then you have to be basically on call 24/7 in order to make ends meet. So, and I think also this past year has exposed that. Right.
Yes.
Because, you take folks. OK, yeah. You want to get paid. Yes. You're going to have to put yourself at risk, and we're not going to help. We're not support you. Sure. We'll give you an extra quarter, right? Quarter an hour to kind of do your job. But that's it. And even those folks, I mean, they're I'm not doing that again. Are you kidding me? Oh, we're the frontline workers that can be supported. And then now we're all reopening and we're going to forget, back to your Amazon warehouse, I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have so many friends who are bartenders and servers, and they all got different jobs too. They're all, right. They're you can't rely on this job anymore. I mean, that was the thing for me. I was well, bartending, serving beer will always be my backup. But then COVID happened and bartending couldn't be my backup anymore. Right. That's scary.
Right, indeed. Well, look, I just hope that there's going to be major revisioning kind of going forward. And, what I hope when right around when you get the time where you're getting ready to kind of launch, you're getting ready to go out there, have you back on.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'd love to do, whatever I can on kind of on this end to help kind of support kind of what you're doing, help the work that's out there. And before we get kind of start closing out, if there is anybody, as a reminder again, you'd like to kind of have kind of questions and concerns, you can either kind of use the YouTube chat, or you can kind of join us here on Riverside if you have a question or call in before we take off. So let me ask you this then. So if you had to leave folks with kind of a particular message or kind of an idea about kind of what you're kind of bringing here, or about your campaign, or about kind of, or even just about you, what do you want to leave folks with this evening?
We need people in office who have experienced the things that they're actually dealing with, that have experienced the problems that we actually need to solve. My family is afraid to lose healthcare. We're afraid. We struggle to pay healthcare sometimes. We struggle to pay for childcare. We struggle to pay student loans still. We need the people, like you said, the people who are closest to the pain need to be closest to the power, and there needs to be more women at the table. And I want to do it. I'm here. I'm going to do it.
100%. Well, we're going to be there for the entire ride. Everybody, Colleen, thank you so much for kind of joining us tonight. Thank
you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? I mean, I was thrilled.
I'm a fangirl.
Well, I'm the fanboy of you, so here we go. We can just do a little fan session. How's that? Right, exactly. Definitely we're gonna be staying in touch over the summer and making sure that we can help out with your campaign. And want to remind everybody that you can go to the show notes. There's going to be a donation button there that you can kind of give what you can. And if you're someone you just can't afford to give at this point, right, you can always kind of reach out and ask Colleen how you might be able to help, right? Mm-hmm. This is how we are going to win and support our candidates, right, by getting behind folks early, right, and giving what we can, right, and we're not all going to give the same thing, but we're all going to kind of get behind and help support folks. So, Colleen, it's great talking to you tonight, and we're going to be talking to you again soon, I'm sure.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, everybody, this is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Kind of always love hear people. I just want to kind of give a little kind of quick announcement just so everybody knows we're coming up and out to Coop Live for the next few weeks. We got a busy couple of weeks coming up. Next week, we've got Cory Doctorow on the show. He's the author. We're going to talk about his book, How to Destroy Surveillance Capitalism. Then we got 2 days after that, we're going to have Kadita Kenner on. She is the executive director.
Sorry, that was just me cheering for Kadita.
Yeah. She's going to be on. I'm thrilled to talk to her of the New Pennsylvania Project. Kind of is going to get behind voter rights and expanding kind of like the voter pool here in Pennsylvania. And we need her more than anything, and she rocks the house. And then we're going to have, as I mentioned before, we're going to have Aaron Kennedy on. Aaron Wallace on, from owner of Devil's Den and co-leader of the Pink Boots Society, talk about more about the craft beer industry and some recent revelations. But you can also join us on Wednesday of this week with Cyril Michaleko for the Wednesday show. But as of tonight, once again, all thanks go out to Colleen. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. And we'll see you all next week or on Wednesday. Sean will not be here this Friday. He is on vacation. So I'll have a surprise show for you on Friday. I haven't quite figured that out yet. Then an announcement about what we're going to do the following Friday, but that's a secret right now. See ya!